Tonight on Joy News Prime, Minority Chief Whip Muhammad Muntaka Mubarak claims out of 275 MPs, only about 100 of them actually show up to work.
And people do not come to the house and they get others to sign their name for them. You come to the chamber and you see all of them in the chamber are less than 80. The next day you look at the photo proceedings, say 150 members were in the house.
Meanwhile, Speaker of Parliament Professor Michael Quay gives Communications Minister Eslo Useko for 48 hours to show up in the House to respond to questions on the controversial Kelny GVG contract after she failed to appear on 3 different occasions.
I direct that the minister must answer all the relevant questions and make herself available on Friday.
Also in this bulletin, examination officer of the Tamale Senior High School seeks police protection following attempts by some students to attack him for not allowing them to cheat in the examinations.
The only reason is simple. The point was that I did not allow them to cheat or to be engaged in more during the exam.
And in business,
Cocobot to distribute electronic weighing scales to licensed buying companies following Joy News' Missing Kilos documentary.
Management has settled on 2 solutions. One is a preventive reform measure, and the other is an immediate term punitive measure.
later in this bulletin, family of 29-year-old man whose death sparked Tuesday's demonstration in Awoshi says they are yet to come to terms with their loss. And on your election headquarters, we are live we'll be bringing you more in all the stories making headlines on our politics. But we are live from our studios in Kokomlemle in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. In our very first story, examinations officer of the Tamale Senior High School, Alex Na, is seeking protection for his family following attempts by some students last night to attack him. Mr. Na, who spoke to Joy News, said his only crime was not allowing the students to engage in any examination malpractice during their integrated science paper. Some 100 final year students mobilized to attack the exams officer, but the authorities of the school rescued him.
Yes, these Irish students of Tamale Senior High School came to attack, they mobilized to come and attack me, the exams officer of the school, in my house. Just that, unfortunately, they were stopped on their way to my house by the senior housemaster and other senior members of the school. So they were spoken to, and then they moved back. After which the headmaster also came and spoke to them. Then the senior housemaster and his team went and reported the matter to the police, and therefore we were provided with police patrol. About 4 vehicles came around on the patrol there, around my house, within the area there, and this morning.
Do you know why they wanted to attack you?
Oh, the only reason is simple. Their point was that I did not allow them to cheat or to be engaged in more during the exam.
Have you personally reported the matter to the police?
Yes, the school has personally reported the matter to the police. That was how come the patrol came around.
Do you feel safe?
Well, I feel safe, but for the sake of my family, I feel that I should be given protection.
We've been joined on the telephone line, the Ghana Education Service Director of the Northern Region, Edward Azuri, for more on this. Good evening to you. I'm grateful for your time on Joy News Prime.
Thank you very much.
Has your attention been drawn to this issue yet?
Yes. Thank you very much, and thank you to your cherished listeners. When I arrived in the office this morning at 8 o'clock, my attention was drawn to an incident that occurred in Tamale Senior High School last night. According to the staff who spoke to me, students attempted attacking the exams officer of Tamale Senior High School. And actually, according to him, they didn't succeed in getting to his place. And so that was the report I had in the morning. I was waiting to hear from the headmaster. And when I heard nothing, I decided to go to the school to find out for myself. I went there when the headmaster was engaging the students. He and the entire staff engaged the students. At the point I got there, headmaster was addressing them. So he invited me to join them. After he spoke to them, I also spoke to them. And eventually, the head prefect came out and apologized to the staff for the unfortunate incident that happened.
Well, the teacher, the examination officer, says his only crime was to prevent the students from engaging in examination malpractices. Have you contacted the teacher yet to hear what exactly transpired?
No, I've not actually met the teacher, but that was exactly what the headmaster told me.
And the students?
The headmaster, according to the headmaster, that was why the students were aggrieved. They wanted to attack the exam officer.
All right, so what has the Ghana Education Service done about this to avert a recurrence?
Actually, we spoke to them. We made them to understand that they are the most fortunate group of students. How they have been paid, how their fees have been paid to them, even including their exam fees. I made them to understand that they are coming from different homes with different aspirations and different hopes, and therefore they need to comport themselves to write the exams so that they will achieve the aims for which they are in the school. So, in fact, I just spoke to them, and I think it went down well with them.
Now, this is what we are witnessing today. Some few days ago, we witnessed another violence in the Parliamentary SHS. Are you not worried that we're having to record some of these cases in the Ewasi?
Yeah, it's a worrying issue, but I think with the sort of talks we have delivered to them, I believe that at least there will be a change of mind. I've made them to understand that even if they are able to copy in the exams, WAEC has a mechanism for detecting collusion. And therefore, they will be even found out, even if the master allows them to cheat in the exams. And so I think they understand that if they are even allowed to cheat, there will be punishment, there will be consequences.
I'm grateful for your time. Edward Azuri is GES Director in the Northern Region. We're still live on Joy News Prime. There is more here because a Deputy Education Minister has also been speaking. Dr. Yahweh Duchum has assured Parliament adequate measures are in place to ensure COVID-19 does not spread in schools. Responding to questions on the floor of Parliament, he said adequate protective tools have been provided to schools and social distancing measures are also in place.
All schools have been disinfected against COVID-19. All schools have been mapped to a health facility for medical response in case of a need. The phased return of students ensure that there can be social distancing in the classrooms and dormitories. In this instance, only final year senior high school and junior high school students, as well as second year gold track students, have returned to school. Senior high school classes are to be split with no more than 25 students in a classroom. Junior high school classes are to be split with no more than 30 students in a classroom. Mr. Speaker, all schools were supplied with a complement of wash facilities, Veronica buckets, soap, hand sanitizers, etc. Each student and staff were supplied with a complement of face masks, 3 in total to each person. All schools have been supplied with thermometer guns to measure temperature of students and staff regularly. For the period of the phase reopening, school facilities are not available for outside activities. All large gatherings in schools have been suspended.
Dr. Edichum also assured MPs efforts have been rolled out to ensure students and pupils who are not in school get access to e-learning platforms to study as well, including those in rural areas.
Where there's radio and TV, they can use the worksheets to follow. And in cases where the connectivity is not there, electricity is not there, they also have access to the worksheets, and they will be able to actually prevent learning loss that will be occasioned by the school closures as we are anticipating today. We all know that we don't have 100% electricity coverage in this country, even though we've done a fantastic job as a nation over the years. Now, in places where there's none, as I indicated earlier, Ghana Education Service have authorized district directors to find innovative ways of making sure that there are some worksheets that can be distributed in those communities where we can use paper and pencil in learning, and therefore reducing the learning loss that will be occasioned by the closure of schools in this country.
Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak says MPs are destroying Parliament by shirking their responsibility. He says out of 275 MPs, only about 100 of them actually show up to work. Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak claims those are usually absent get others to sign their name for them as present. He says the House is losing its integrity as absentee MPs usually spend their time outside the House doing private business. He was speaking at a forum in Parliament House on nurturing career MPs.
With our limited resources as a country, where we have reached with monetization, I doubt whether anything can be done in the next 2 decades to really be able to reverse the monetization heavily, to even the point where we came, not where Honorable Che or Honorable Bobby came. Where even some of us came, I doubt if the level of money that is required to come to Parliament today. We are destroying this house. I must say, this house is completely turned upside down. And quote me anywhere, and I can provide evidence to that. 275 members of Parliament, you can't put your hand on 100 MPs who are doing the role of Parliament. You can't. 100 out of 275. It is so difficult. I mean, all of us here, we lament on the chamber. You come to a house where you want to build integrity, and people do not come to the house, and they get others to sign their name for them. You come to the chamber and you see all of them in the chamber are less than 80. The next day you look at the photo of the proceedings, they say 150 members are in the house. The house is losing it. Why are we losing it? We are losing it because of the way we get elected. People are not motivated to stay and learn.
Let's delve deeper into this issue. We've been joined by Kinali Kimani, who is Director of M&E and Special Projects at Odikro. Good evening to you. Thanks so much for your time. Mr. Likimani, you're on Joy News Prime. And if you can hear me, your organization has been doing a lot of work on Parliament. Now, the Minority Chief Whip says only 100 MPs out of 275 MPs show up and actually do Parliament work. Do you agree?
Well, so the short answer is yes, but the explanation, and I'd like to go a bit deeper into it. One, so first of all, I'm going to praise my own organization because we've been talking about this for 4 years, over 4 years, doing absenteeism reports. And the practice of MPs asking others to sign present when they are not there is in response to our scorecards, which we release in election years. So they are trying to make themselves look better at the end of the 4-year term. But really, the issue is when Odiko started to assess and monitor Parliament, they said that nobody can talk about them except themselves, which is of course a wrong position to take. But the only two institutions or two processes makes rules for the business of Parliament: the Constitution and Parliament itself. So if they discover, if for some reason which I cannot understand now, they have awakened themselves to even the problem of absenteeism, then they are the ones to fix it. You know, they have rules in place. They themselves put those rules in place to deal with absent MPs who are absent without permission. Every single time we have released our reports and we give a copy to the leadership of the majority and the minority and we give copies to the speaker, they have acted like we shouldn't even, they have acted like the reports don't even exist.
But of course, and talking about they themselves realizing the issue, it's been on the banner for some time now.
So,
recently,
the issue is that it's for Parliament to fix its own problems. It is for Ghanaians to put pressure on Parliament, but it is for Parliament to fix its own problems. No one can actually fix it for them. And this is why they continue to behave the way they do. They know that. So even to turn around, anybody who says that MPs that come to Parliament cannot even do the business of Parliament because of the ways in which MPs are elected or the monies they spend, I don't even want to hear it because, again, no, ordinary Ghanaians do not set the rules of contestation. We do not, we are not the ones making the rules for political parties. If parties are extorting monies from parliamentary candidates, it is not the public's fault. None of this is the public's fault. None of this is our rules that we set. These are political party procedures that gets people into Parliament and then parliamentary procedures. So they are to fix their issue. Today I hear that some of the leadership are lambasting first-term MPs, that they have not performed well. We take issue with that because the people who are to make sure that first-term MPs have the space to do effective legislative work is leadership. And the leadership knows that they have not given enough space for first-term MPs to perform. If everything that is done in Parliament is done along the lines of leadership, which is majority with minority, there's my committee chairs, then ordinary first-term members who have no kind of leadership role, they are not going to be effective. You cannot wait for a full 4 term to go by to then start complaining in election year when, or assessing yourself in election year, when you know that an organization like Odiko will bring out scorecards. It's a bit late. It's a bit late, always a bit late for Parliament to react to their business.
Kina, I'm happy you talk about an election year, and of course we're demanding accountability from the people that we vote to represent us. What can we do as citizens, as Ghanaians, to hold these parliamentarians accountable so they can show up to do the work we ask them to go and do there?
Well, first of all, the first thing that Odiko likes to, the thing that our work is concerned about is the constitutional mandate that MPs have, and only Parliament. They have oversight, legislature, representation. We need for Ghanaians to take their minds out of what the MP can do in their constituency to what the MPs and Parliament should be doing to further development and freedom in Ghana. Because roads, a lot of institutions can bring roads. Schools, a lot of institutions can bring schools. Sanitation, a lot of institutions, but there is only one institution that can pass laws, only one institution that can represent us, and only one institution that can do the oversight. So we really also need the media to be always looking at, to critically assess and also report on what MPs and Parliament is doing to further the development of Ghana. It is irrelevant, let me say, it is irrelevant the development of Ghana if an MP from wherever brings a school to here. It is good for the constituency, but for the country as a whole, if that MP brings development to their constituency, but they are not taking part of the core constitutional mandate, which only Parliament can do, that person is underperforming and Parliament is underperforming. You will notice that parliamentarians, they sit on Parliament and they talk as though they are ordinary Ghanaians when issues come up. They are not ordinary Ghanaians. We have empowered them. The Constitution empowers them to take part in solving our problems. And it is what happens on the floor. It is what laws they pass. It is how they oversee the executive, which is what should be our primary concern. Not whether they promise you a bridge in their constituency.
I'm grateful for your time. Kinali Kimani is Director M&E at Odikro. She's been speaking about absenteeism in Parliament. But Minority Leader Haruna Jesus says the monetization of Ghanaian politics is creating an unstable Parliament and endangering the country's democracy. Speaking at a forum on the need to nurture career legislators, he said monetization has led to a high attrition rate in the House. He says in the current Parliament, less than 10 out of 275 MPs contribute to the real work of NDC, of the work. And of course, he also talked about the NDC flag bearer, John Mahama, who Ghanaians should consider for a second term. Listen.
Now more recently, the monetization of our democracy, which will not only create a stable Parliament, but will undermine the entire democratic process and deny the people of Ghana what is largely described as the democratic dividends. It also means that our democracy probably will be the preserve of the elite and the wealthy into the future. That is why I must commend this initiative of an introspection today for us to examine how we protect it. My own view will be that we would need major reforms of our political parties. So one of the major contributors to the high attrition rate will be the conflicting roles of members of Parliament and the extent to which we have all contributed to it. We should not rule out this as one of the primary root causes of corruption in our country and the continuous abuse of public processes by members of Parliament who aspire to be ministers of state to enrich themselves to the disadvantage of the Ghanaian people.
No, Majority Leader Seche Mensah-Bonsu says the work of lawmaking requires a lot of experience and MPs need to stay longer in the House to be able to do it properly.
A strong Parliament is a vital sign of a healthy democracy. In many of my previous interactions with colleagues, I have strongly established that a Parliament in democracy must exhibit 5 key characteristics: that it should be representative, transparent, accessible, accountable, and effective. I do not intend to rehash what is already known to all of us. The legitimacy of Parliament and parliamentarians is assessed by these roles that they perform and how effective they are. Effective representation of the interests of constituents is exercised through the statements that we make on the floor, petitions, motions, question time, and as we are wont to do very soon, private members' bills. Deliberation in plenary or at committees requires of a member to be informed so that in participating in debates or deliberations, one would register one's presence in a bold manner. It is laborious, it is tedious, it is cumbersome, just so that the smithing of legislation would come out pure, like gold. Because ultimately, an enactment affects the living conditions and the life of people, and Parliament and parliamentarians must get it right. Lawmaking, arguably the greatest function of Parliament, is a tough nut. The measure of the toughness is in the numbers of parliamentarians that we see in plenary when bills are being crafted.
Headquarters, NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama has described President Akufo-Addo as a dictator over what he says are deliberate attempts to prevent people from some ethnic groups from registering in the ongoing voter registration exercise. Recounting the closure of some radio stations seemed to be critical of the government 2 years ago, the recent violence that have been recorded in the registration exercise. The former president expressed fear President Akufo-Addo may not hand over a peaceful country to him if he wins December's elections.
The Akufo-Addo administration is trying to turn our dictatorship. a lot of the things that are happening, closure of radio stations, harassment of journalists, and just recently during this registration exercise, the alienation of people and the questioning of their citizenship, the use of the military to prevent people from registering. It all shows a government that is determined to do everything to hang on to power. President Rawlings was the first president under the Fourth Republic. He ruled this country for 8 years. He handed over peacefully, a peaceful and united country to President Kufuor. President Kufuor was in power for 8 years. He handed over a peaceful and united country to President Mills. I took over in 2012 after the unfortunate passing of President Mills. And I handed a peaceful and united country to President Akufo-Addo. Unfortunately, what nation is President Akufo-Addo going to hand over to me when I take over from 2020? We will bring back the peace and unity of this country. We'll make all our people feel that they belong to this country and that some people do not own this country more than others.
Mr. Mahama today stormed his hometown of Bole, where he had his name registered in the ongoing registration exercise. He rallied those who are still unregistered to do so.
Your vote is your power. Let's register and kick out this non-performing government. Failed promises. One village, one dam has not materialized. All the dams dry up in the dry season. Most districts do not have any factory yet. And yet it's all been propaganda, propaganda, and propaganda.
And still to come in this bulletin, family of 29-year-old man whose death sparked Tuesday's demonstration in Awo, she says they are yet to come to terms with their loss. There is more when we return from the break, plus business when Sandra Apeno comes on.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. I'm here for business. I am Sandra Esinamap. Cocoa Board is set to procure some non-adjustable weighing scales for all licensed buying companies in the next cocoa crop season. This follows the Missing Kilos documentary by Joy News' investigative journalist Kwete Nete that revealed how some LBCs are adjusting scales to shortchange cocoa farmers. Speaking at the media engagement, Deputy CEO of the operations at Cocoa Board, Dr. Emmanuel Opoku, said this punitive reform measure will also surcharge all LBCs caught in the act.
Cocoa Board has argued that all licensed buying companies, LBCs, who shortchange cocoa farmers have been sanctioned and surcharged for their greedy acts. Deputy CEO of Operations for Cocoa Board, Dr. Emmanuel Opoku, says surveillance has been intensified to safeguard the interests of cocoa farmers.
Cocoa Board has put in place a punitive measure to surcharge any defaulting LBC with a monetary equivalent of the aggregated weight from cocoa sheds across the country that the LBC in question may have shortchanged the unsuspecting farmers.
The importance of sea-level scales are to restrict LBCs from adjusting the weight of cocoa beans. Dr. Emmanuel Opoku argues a nationwide distribution of these scales will be made at a cost to these LBCs in 2021.
The preventive or the reform or preventive measure involves the introduction of the Ghana Standards Authority recommended electronic sea-level weighing scales, which meet a set of tamper-proof standards, so that scale adjustments will be a thing of the past. The decision has been taken to import the electronic sea-level weighing scales starting this year, 2020, and distribute them at a cost to the LBCs.
The Missing Kilos documentary by Joy News investigative journalist Quentin Nerte reveals how some LBCs are adjusting skills to shortchange cocoa farmers. The documentary has further raised concerns over the financial security of cocoa farmers across the country.
Meanwhile, Cocoa Board has refused to disclose the amount involved in the procurement of these weighing scales. But away from that, the government task force on retail trade has given the strongest indication of closing down shops of foreign retailers that have not regularized their status after the grace period. This was contained in a statement from the Trade Ministry as it announces resumption of the committee's work from next Monday. Reacting to the statement, Center Coordinator of CAT International, a policy advocacy group, Apia Kusi Adumaku, says it's about time Ghana reviews its retail laws in conformity with that of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. There's more in the following report.
According to the Committee on Retail Trade, this move has been influenced by a change in the approach of enforcing laws on doing business in the retail space. The Trade Ministry in a statement noted that this follows proposals from some members of the committee, including the Ghana Union of Traders Association. It maintained that the police commander and local authorities, as well as assemblies within the areas of inspection, will be invited to join the task force. The Trade Ministry added that all shops closed by Guta will be opened for assessment. The task force, after inspection, will issue each shop owner with a required notice of compliance. This is to prevent harassment by any other interest group. However, for those that have failed to regularize their status, they will be given the required grace period to correct it. Failure to do so would result in the closure of their shops.
That blanket minimum capital requirement for foreigners who want to come and do business here, I think it doesn't help, because there are some sectors that someone doesn't need the stated capital of 500,000 cedis to enter into the market. And so I think they are going to look at case by case and then allow people to trade. And I also know that the GIPC law is also under review. That would also take into consideration some of these differentials in terms of the capital limit for foreigners who are doing business in the country. I mean, the ECOWAS protocol allows for members, citizens of member states to be able to move and transact businesses within the community.
The task force is expected to use this exercise to also assess other business operating permits of these shop owners, of which failure would lead to the closure of their shops. The Trade Ministry believes that this new way of enforcing the laws on retail trade should help deal with the recent tension that has arisen between Ghanaian traders and foreign counterparts that are trading in the retail markets.
That's all for the first part of business. I'm back after 8 p.m. with more. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you for staying with us on Joy News Prime. Time for the sport. I'm Gary Al Smith. The Court of Arbitration for Sport CAS has for the second time postponed their ruling of the case between Wilfred Osei, aka Palmer, and the Ghana Football Association. The ruling will now be communicated on September the 1st, and the International Tribunal has announced. Now, CAS had announced on Tuesday that will be the day to communicate their ruling, and this was after they had ditched their initial July 17 date. So the CAS letter is what you see on your screens. It says, "Dear Madam, dear Sir, on behalf of the Deputy President of the CAS Appeals Arbitration Division, please be advised that the time limit to communicate the tribunal award to the parties pursuant to Article 59 of the Code of Sports-Related Arbitration has been extended until the 1st of September 2020. Please be advised that I remain at the parties' disposal for any further information. Yours faithfully, Caroline Fisher, Counsel to the CAS." In the Europa League, European football is back, yes indeed, and tonight we're seeing some fixtures. You can go to myjoyonline.com to see the key storylines that we have identified, but these are the scores right now happening as we speak. Copenhagen are 3-0 up on Istanbul BB. Shakhtar, same score on Wolfsburg, and those are full-time results. Half-time is Inter 1 Getafe nil. Man United are drawing 0-0 with Lask. That's the sport for now. I'm Gary Al Smith. We'll be back on the other side of 8.
And it's time for Showbiz now. Becky is here with the very latest. Becky, what's up in Showbiz?
Yeah, everything is fine, Aisha. Today, let's talk about Keche. When was the last time you heard from Keche? They are out with a new song, yes, No Darling, and they actually shot the music video. It's a very beautiful music video, and they're saying that they used 90,000 Ghana cedi to shoot that particular video. Of course, we spoke to them, and here is the reason why they had to spend that much for that video.
All right, so that
was Keche talking about their new music video, No Darling, featuring Kwame Yuji. But let's talk about Prince David Osei, actor Prince David Osei. He's
has a new movie?
Yes, this movie has been in the pipeline for a very long time. I'm very excited.
Thank God it's out now.
It's out now. And guess the title, Newsman.
Newsman.
Yes.
Okay.
It speaks a lot about news.
Oh, wow.
So Prince just explained to us exactly what the movie is about and why we should go watch this movie. Yeah.
And when is it premiering?
It's actually premiering. It has started premiering on the 1st, and it is ending, I think, today.
Okay.
But you can still go. Kwao is advising industry players to support each other because that's the only way out. People, this actually came on the back of Shatawale's already. People are saying that he didn't shoot the music video. Beyonce came to Ghana. Beyonce didn't come to Ghana.
But whatever it is, it's a beautiful video. I mean,
we must support.
Let's talk about the positive. So you for support your brother. I mean,
they
agree. And you see, that's what they've been doing to Shatta. That's what they do to Shatta, and then you go, you crazy. Make you not look for any trouble. They beg. Shatta, I mean. Welcome back to Johnny's Prime. Now to the rest of our story. Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, has given Communications Minister Eslo Wusu-Ekufo 48 hours to show up in the House to respond to questions on the controversial Kelni GVG contract after she failed to appear on 3 different occasions. Ningo Pampram MP Samuel George had posed a question to the minister on the $89 million deal meant to monitor revenue of mobilization from the mobile telecommunication companies. Today, when the time for her to answer the question was due, Majority Leader Seche Mensah-Bonsu told the House he cannot locate the minister. Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubara complained the minister's non-appearance is untenable.
I'm worried about these questions. This is the 3rd time the minister has failed to appear before the House. Mr. Speaker, you will notice that even the answers has not been provided. This is the 3rd time. Speaker, I don't want to impugn wrong motive to say it's deliberate. The minister is avoiding to answer this question. We have a responsibility as a House to get ministers to be accountable to this House. And Mr. Speaker, this is the 3rd time. The first time she was not here, there was no answer. It was rescheduled. The second time, the same. And today, the same, without even the answers. Mr. Speaker, I hope you give the right directive so that the minister will come and answer this question necessarily without further delay.
Speaker Michael Quay directed the minister to avail herself on Friday without fail.
The Secretary had a letter delivered on Monday that she will not be able, for circumstances beyond her control, be here this morning. Nevertheless, I notice that no answer has been placed on the record. To cut a long story short, I direct that the minister must answer all the relevant questions and make herself available on Friday to answer the relevant questions.
Away from Parliament, the family of the 29-year-old man whose death sparked Tuesday's demonstration in Awoshi says they're yet to come to terms with their loss. At about 10 p.m. on Monday, Thomas Nyamavo was knocked down and killed by a moving vehicle on the road due to malfunctioning traffic lights, prompting residents to stage a massive protest. Grandmother of the deceased, Veronica Nyamavo, is pleading with authorities to fix the traffic light, as she claims she was almost knocked down a week ago. Nancy Mefajadosi returned to Awoshi and has filed this report.
It's rather a peaceful morning at Awoshi Mangwase, the same spot where hundreds of residents protested the needless death recorded on that stretch. 24 hours later, they are back to the daily routine, once again risking their lives as they cross this same highway they believe is a death trap amid non-functioning traffic lights. Normally a preacher by day, Pastor Jackson has walked away from his pulpit, his microphone in hand, begging cars to stop as he assists residents cross the road safely.
Stop very fast. The cars to allow people. Try to stop people.
Worry about how dangerous the road has become, Pastor Jackson says he is tired from seeing people getting knocked down. Thus, his decision to volunteer for the task.
Every Monday to Friday, stop and cross them.
Every day, I have to stop preaching to help these pedestrians. I have been speaking about this for 3 years.
3 years in here, car bonko for her, minimum car bobby and manasu, baku so a pajano consultant is a film. I was
I've witnessed so many deaths. It's really painful.
Yeah, car bobby says, yeah, no, so for car bobby, or Miss Minya, somebody mine.
During our visit, the team found a traffic warden stationed at one side of the road. While the crew took it to mean someone in authority was finally listening to the disgruntled Awoshi resident, Mr. Obobi said it's a 9-day wonder.
After the demonstration, they brought a traffic warden. By next week, he won't be here anymore. Just watch.
Matilda Odro is a KNUST student. She recounts a horrific accident she once witnessed.
A certain young girl like my age was knocked down by a car and she just died at the spot. To the extent that you can't even recognize her face, you can't even recognize who she was. So this situation over here is so appalling.
While speaking to these people, more residents joined in. This man, who would not give us his name, but obviously angry, says government should rather build an overhead. His reason is simple.
They should build an overhead. The traffic light will get spoiled again.
A friend of Soso, the man who died after being knocked down by a speeding vehicle, took us to his grandmother. 79-year-old Veronica Nyabe, after trying so hard to hold back tears, couldn't bear it anymore as she told the news team how she heard the news of the demise of her grandson.
Around 11 p.m., a group of men came to me that my grandson had been knocked down by a vehicle. He was taken to the hospital before we got there, but we were informed he had passed.
She now has to single-handedly bury him as she has already lost her daughter and the father of Soso, who cannot be traced. She's asking government to fix the traffic lights as she revealed she was almost knocked down a week ago.
Crossing that highway is so dangerous. A car almost hit me last Thursday. These traffic lights must be fixed.
Now guess what? After an hour or two, we returned to the Mangwase Junction. The team was surprised to find that traffic warden had also left, perhaps lending credence to some anxieties of anxious residents. As the day wore on, we left, knowing that at any moment, another fatality could occur.
When I die, I will tell my ancestors, especially my father and mother, of the nice house and staggering cash you have showed on me. The response will be, you have really enjoyed before coming. These were the words of Dari Pogo after officially Officials of Wa branch of Fidelity Bank opened an account for her. The opening of the account was necessitated by the sea of nominations following the hotline documentary by Seth Kwam Boateng on the squalid life of the 80-year-old leper who lost all 10 fingers as a result of leprosy. Joy News' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam was at Montori to witness the event, and here is his report.
Several donations have poured in ever since the story of 80-year-old leper Darapur was aired on Joy News on a hotline documentary titled With a Skin by Seth Kwame Boateng. Darapur contracted leprosy at a tender age and as a result lost all 10 fingers and all toes except the 2 big ones. The monetary donations made to the 80-year-old through Joy News and Seth Kwame Boateng is so colossal to be handed over to her living in an outlandish community like Motori. They then decided to open an account with the Wa branch of Fidelity Bank to enable her receive some monthly stipends. Officials of the bank rolled into the Motori community to open the bank account for her. Wa branch manager of Fidelity Bank, Maui Sani, spoke through an interpreter on what is required. The first requirement asked for was a voter ID card, and she presented both the old and the new one.
The idea is that every month, if we complete everything, your account is with you, we will also get an agent in this community, in your own community, that every month you can go for a particular amount to be specified later to you, that this is the amount on monthly basis you can go to the agent and take, so that you don't have to travel from here to looking at the distance and looking at your condition. There will be an agent here to serve you, so that on monthly basis you have something for your own upkeep, just to make sure that the support is something that is sustainable for a longer period as much as possible.
Wobbling with only 2 of her big toes and with her 2 fingerless arms strapped at her back with a heart loaded with prayer, she thanked all the people who supported her since the story was aired. Her life has changed tremendously. Starting with the donation of food items and a cash amount of 2,000 Ghana cedis from Vice President Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, coupled with the construction of a 2-bedroom house which has been roofed and windows almost fixed. She says she has a story to tell her ancestors when she's called by her maker. I never expected money as huge as this. Every day, I struggle to survive. Now I don't only have money, but a house that I can call my own. When I die, I'll tell my ancestors of what you have done for me. They will be happy that I really enjoyed before coming. The clothes I'm wearing, my mother didn't have. She was virtually naked before she died. It is not only Darapur who is excited about a new building right in this community. One of her sons, Kuntronku Jadu, is overexcited that at long last she's going to have a room of his own. Kuntronku Jadu, since his birth some 50 years ago, has been staying with the mother. He was born with hydrocephalus and as a result has made his speech to be slurred. He was over the moon and pointed his hand to the sky to thank God for their newfound life. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Motori.
And back here in Accra in the studios, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Now, the caucus of Elected Assembly Members Association of Ashanti Region has accused the former President Mahama of deception over his promise to pay the monthly salaries if re-elected. The group accuses Mr. Mahama of inconsistency with the issue after refusing to sign a white paper that sought to implement the policy under his administration. Spokesperson Nana Kofi Senya warns politicians to refrain from continuously taking undue advantage of assembly members. Prince Apia has more in the following report.
Assembly members have often complained they struggle to execute their mandate because they are under-resourced. Though they agree a regular remuneration for them is long overdue, the 1,580 Assembly members vow to resist any attempt to exploit them. Spokesperson Nana Kofi Senya echoes the sentiment of his colleagues.
The former president is being too inconsistent in his message this time, because you're looking at the assembly system and the assembly members and how they are influential in their various electoral areas. He thought that maybe he could use the assembly members, in this time around to kind of win votes. That's why he's trying to induce the assembly members by going around and saying that he's going to pay them wages. Whilst we know for sure that in your 2012 manifesto, right, you promise that you're going to pay assembly members through the consolidated fund and then use common fund as well. But this time he's talking differently. He doesn't even know where he's going to find the money. He said he will find money somewhere. And then if you listen to the video as well, he was trying to kind of allocate some duties to assembly members, why those duties have been assigned to the unit committees, because the law says that the unit committees are responsible for deaf and deaf registrations. But if you listen to the former president, he was saying that he's now going to, give this assignment to the assembly members as a duty so that he can pay them. Where is he coming from? The man is indisciplined when it comes to implementation of the law.
The group claims the Constitutional Review Committee in 2010 also proposed regular salary for assembly members, but government refused to grant approval. Immediate past presided member for Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, Abraham Bwedi, says repeated letters on this issue never got the attention of the former president.
I think the Constitutional Review Committee 2010-2011 make recommendation to the president, the late President Mills, and that white paper is on the table while the former president was in the office. So we are asking why did he sign that white paper, propose that they should pay assembly members. Then again, we wrote a lot of letters to the presidency, reminding the president about his manifesto that he promised 2012 that he will pay assembly members, but he didn't deliver it. And now there are additional assembly members. So we want to ask him a question. What deter him not to pay the assembly members as of that time? And now, what has he prepared to do? What are the bases? We want a report of 2012 to 2016. So we are trying to say maybe he lied to us, and he's continuing to lie to us. He can't do it because he's speaking as if now that he's coming to power, but he was there before.
The group referred to NDC's 2012 manifesto, in which the party had indicated its government will pay assembly members, but it was never implemented. Ahinsan Estate Assembly member Nanaya Redo is convinced the latest promise by former President Mahama can only mean deception.
What I'm saying is that this is a political season. We know everybody is going to come out with a lot of promises, but we don't want politicians to take undue advantage of assembly members. We know our right, and we will be happy if something is coming to cushion the work of the assembly members, but not this time that everybody is campaigning that they are going to promise us heaven and earth, that they are going to pay us. The question is, the sitting president and the former president, they have all been given the opportunity to serve the country, and assembly members were there.
Meanwhile, the group resolves to engage with members of the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana, NALAG, and other stakeholders to push for remuneration for assembly members. Prince Apia reporting.
The opposition NDC has dismissed the argument being advanced by the governing NPP that more people in the Volta region are being registered to vote as opposed to 2016. At a news conference in Accra yesterday, NPP chairman Freddie Blay called on residents in the region not to allow themselves to become pawns in the NDC's alleged ethnic agenda after the main opposition party alleged military intimidation of protective voters from the region. Mr. Blaze says figures obtained by the EC shows that more people registered this year than previous years, and accused the NDC of deploying what he called communist inferior tactics.
Do not be misled by John Mahama's hate for vote campaign. John Mahama has resorted to this old bogus propaganda trick used by empty and desperate tyrants of decades gone by, because he has no policy response to Akufo-Addo's social interventions and economic policies. Ladies and gentlemen, Akufo-Addo has been instrumental in maintaining peace and tranquility throughout the country, including in Dagbon, since he came into office. He will be, and I insist with sincerity, be the last to want to disturb the peace in this country. We must completely and totally reject Mahama's hate for vote campaign and look at the real facts.
But the Director of Elections for the NDC, Elvis Efriankra, says the MPP's allegations of communist inferior tactics are laughable in the face of an incontrovertible evidence.
We have provided incontrovertible evidence of various incidents of violence targeted at people of Ewe or Volta extraction and people of Northern extraction all over the country. Beyond that, you as independent media entities have also had several reports that you yourselves have covered over all these incidents. Again, there is pictorial video evidence. It's so clear and glaring. So when you have a 70-plus-year-old man standing before the entire Ghanaian populace, and in the face of such incontrovertible evidence of violence, evidence of beatings, evidence of arbitrary arrests, evidence of deliberate attempts to suppress votes in these areas, evidence of ethnic bigotry and discrimination, and he comes out to say these things are not happening and that somebody is engaged in what? Hate for votes. Then, you know, you just... It's so ridiculous and preposterous.
You heard the Defense Minister Dominic Neto, who also said that some of these military officials are actually being impersonated, and he hasn't sent any military officials.
But is that not even more serious? Where have you heard in the history of Ghana that people can actually wear military uniforms? So it's a confirmation of some of our concerns, that people actually wear military uniforms, carry guns, and go out to polling stations and go and cause chaos and mayhem. And then there are 7 police officers, 7 military officers, and they are not able to do anything to them. Does this make sense? So he should be taken.
And so COVID-related matters, 8 new deaths push COVID-19 deaths to 199. The latest deaths include a 35-year-old pregnant woman from the Upper West region, 7 critical, 5 on ventilator, and 23 severe. 574 new cases have been reported, taking the active cases to 3,313. Total confirmed cases stand at 39,075, and recoveries and discharge stand at 35,563. We're still live on Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more after this break.
You're welcome back to Business. Tax expert with auditing and accounting firm KPMG, Kofi Frimpong-Kore, is urging micro businesses to develop interest in filing their annual tax returns as a sure way of benefiting from government incentives. According to him, filing annual returns does not imply paying money to the Ghana Revenue Authority. He spoke on Masterclass.
You may, when you are filling the form, so it's a form that you fill to show all the revenues, all the expenses that you have deducted to arrive at the chargeable income, and you file that one. If at the point where you are filing, there is no tax to be paid, you don't pay any tax. I think people also should be clear in their minds that the mere fact of filing your returns does not mean that you are going to pay tax. It's
the net position which
determines. And then people even have a refund. People will file their returns, and then the return you show that the Ghana Revenue Authority or the government should pay them a refund, which they sometimes do pay.
So, for emphasis, the refund is a credit you get on your tax account.
Yes, correct.
The government will not put money in your hand.
No.
But they will give you a credit on your account.
No, there are some times that you apply that they will write a check for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are times you apply, they will write a check for you. Other times too, they will say, okay, you have a credit, so we will use the credit against your future taxes. So it's the same as...
Which is what makes sense, really, because the government needs liquidity to work. Yes. So okay, let's go to the other questions. I want to get in as much as possible.
So the other person also was concerned about tax education. Yes, I must admit that maybe we haven't done a lot of tax education, but I also need to commend the current administration that they are doing a bit more. Amisha Dai and his people are doing a bit more. More need to be done. So at least we accept it in good faith. Okay. Probably when we engage them, we'll tell them that look, people want to hear on more tax education.
In other news, MTN is asking customers to strictly observe the mobile money compliance rules to help guard against activities of fraudsters. This follows recent surge in complaints by some subscribers of fraudulent activities. A recent Bank of Ghana report also revealed that some banking staff were collaborating with these individuals to defraud bank customers. But speaking at the launch of the Mobile Money Month, manager Elihini says there are some basic requirements that subscribers should also look out for.
MTN Ghana, as part of its Momo Month celebration, has outlined 3 golden rules to customers to escape the schemes of fraudsters. These include non-disclosure of mobile money account PIN to third parties. Do not entertain calls from persons who request to discuss mobile money issues except from MTN. General Manager of MTN Mobile Money Services, Elihini, has been sharing the details.
If MTN is calling you, we will call you with our official number, which is 0244 300,000. And I repeat, 0244 300,000. And we should also not allow anyone to do transactions on our behalf, because like I keep saying, if you allow someone to do transactions on your behalf, it means you would have exposed your PIN to that person to complete a transaction. You must always remember that if you do not participate in a promotion, you cannot win.
The relevance of Momo in COVID-19 world is the theme for this year's Momo Month. As part of activities, MTN says it will reward customers for their loyalty, but essentially, they have given other support to customers to help alleviate the impact of COVID-19 while enticing them to use the digital platform to shoot up Ghana's digital inclusion agenda.
During the period, we have covered transactions from 1 to 100 for free, both for platform transactions and interoperability. We also extended the limits of wallets of our customers so they can hold more money in their wallets. The daily transaction limits have also been increased, and the monthly aggregate transactions have all been increased.
Fred Duho reporting for Joy Business.
Parliament has today passed the Minerals Income Investment Fund Amendment Bill 2020 into law. The bill sets up a special purpose vehicle to be used for investment for monies gained from mineral resources to develop the country. Despite initial opposition by the minority, the bill was passed today without objection. And parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo joins me for more. Hello, Joseph. Thanks so much for your time. What exactly does this bill seek to do?
And so, MFA, you'll recall that in 2008, there was the situation of Parliament passing the Mineral Income Investment Fund, which will actually see a situation where when it comes to the monies that are coming in, the royalties that are coming in from mineral resources and all, something to the tune of around 20% of it will be invested in the Mineral Investment Fund, and that money will expected to accrue more interest and additional sums, and it's that money which will eventually be used in helping develop the communities where some of these mining resources are actually picked from, including gold, diamond, and bauxite. Now, this particular amendment that has been done to the bill, which was passed as recently as 2018, is to create a special purpose vehicle to allow for investment by very interesting private enterprises, including some out of the country and all. You recall that the minority had raised objections. The minority leader, Hannah Idris himself, had said that they will kick against it because they thought that was an attempt by some individuals, they don't know, to actually benefit from state resources and all. But eventually today, it was approved by Parliament without any opposition from the minority.
What has changed? What has changed, Gakpo? What has changed? What changed for the minority?
Well, they make the argument that the specifics that they were asking for as to who exactly will be running this special purpose vehicle that's coming up, the role that they will play, the limits in terms of what they can do and what they cannot do. They have demanded the specifics on that, and they say they got some of those details, even from when the second reading of the bill was done about 2 weeks ago, led by the Deputy Finance Minister, Charles Boahi. And for them, once they've gotten that clarity, that's how come they allowed for it to pass without any further opposition.
All right, Joseph, I see you're driving home, so drive safe, and I'm just leaving you to go. Thanks so much for that update. And still on minerals, gold moves above 2,000 for the first time in years. The commodity sold today for $2,036.65 an ounce. A look how the performance of the commodity market is up next. More news on myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks so much for watching. Stay home, stay safe, and stay beautiful. I'm Sandra Isenamapen. Thanks for watching.
And it's time for the interactive segment. And you've been following the violence in the north today. Students are attacking an examination officer. His crime is not to allow them to engage in examination malpractices. We posted this on Facebook. It's generated a number of comments over there. Let's check some of the comments. We'll get them for you shortly. And so these are the comments. Abdul Rahim says, "Oh, Mr. Alex Na, my biology teacher back at Tamasco. He taught me for 2 years. This man believes in hard work and always reminds his students of the day of accountability when he's teaching and the class is noisy. God will guide and protect you, say, for you are doing the right thing. We never copied, but we made it so they can also make it legitimately." Tata Francis says, "This is the mentality politicians have created in the minds of these lazy students that everything should be free. I have never seen this before in WASI examination except this year under free education. Government shouldn't have bought past questions for them." Oh, please, do you have evidence? And Brian Jade says, "These students are becoming unbecoming. Do they know the consequences of examination malpractices? Government has taken care of your fees, food, and other bills. Just sit and learn, write your exams and pass has turned into wahala. No wonder the schools are jubilating here and there and are calm, but these C and F schools are misbehaving. Let the law deal with any unlawful student. We can't breed recalcitrant generation." Jamal Ibn Abdullah said, "The future is not happy with Ghana. How can we politicize everything, including SHS? No wonder they got nerves to misbehave and nothing can be done to them." Amaro Atesepa Ali says, "Every disciplined teacher will be attacked because you want the right thing to be done." Agbeshi says, "It's not their fault. Those that know they are poor academically and can hardly read and write and had aggregate 43 from BC were given general science under free SHS just for political gain. They needed help to pass as well." And those are the comments. Ekogezi says, "We're reaping the harvest of bad seeds sown. This is the result of buying past questions for students to chew and pour." And of course, Eko, I'm not sure you have evidence too that those comments will remain allegations. And that's how we wrap up the bulletin tonight. And that's how we wrap up Join Us Interactive as well. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com for more. PM Express is up next. Stay with me. You don't go nowhere.